I am going to talk to you about Tutors, a multiliteracy journal about tutoring, and its path to publication for fall of 2014. And if you're listening in the background, you can hear that we too are under construction over the summer months. I want to provide a quick note on technology and expense for anyone who is interested in submitting to this journal. Don't assume that you need the clearest audio or the sharpest images to communicate your points. Audio and video for this multimodal text was recorded on a smartphone, and to give you some background on the smartphone, because I know that sometimes they can be expensive as well, this smartphone was actually given to me by my mother-in-law, so it was free. And the video will actually be edited on Windows Movie Maker. So I guess my basic point is to just use whatever technology is accessible to you. Think about what it makes available, and then turn it into something. So what is Tutors looking for? As you can see and hear, we are under construction right now. We're looking for student work that is about tutoring. A great example of a student journal about tutoring is the Dangling Modifier. You can also find student work in the Writing Lab newsletter Tutors column. And although Kairos, a journal of rhetoric, technology, and pedagogy, is not a student journal, I was definitely influenced by it as a multiliteracy journal. I think that Tutors is a little bit different from the other two student tutoring journals in the sense that Tutors is interested in the exploration of various modes. And although we are interested in that, it is definitely not a requirement. Our ideal is to be a space where students develop a creative, challenging, and intellectual discourse about tutoring. And you can see that we already have some great submissions from students. We have Allison Squires, How to Get Off Topic and Still Save Your Essay in One Tutoring Session or Less. And that is a more traditional sort of quick advice to a tutor column. She also has a photograph included in it. We also have Maren Smith's article about yoga and tutoring. That's a more academic paper with some photographs to accompany it. And we also have John Martinez's tutoring podcast that he and I did over the spring semester of 2014. And John talks about a number of different topics that are interesting to him. And he has a short rant about tutoring and technology. So, one of the most important things I think that I need to think about, and any students who are submitting to the journal need to think about, is they need to ask themselves, what is scholarly? And that is a difficult question because it does depend on who you ask. For tutors, being scholarly means being part of a community that values knowledge, discourse, and exploration. Right now, Tutors is slightly fixated on exploration because we want to see what students are interested in submitting to us, and we want to go from there. The criteria that we have for submissions, first and foremost, submissions must be the student's original work. It cannot be previously published, and it should be scholarly as described in the previous slide. Evaluating multimodal compositions can be difficult. However, there are some great models out there and rubrics that will help me to evaluate multimodal compositions that students might submit. One of them is Ball State University's Writing Program rubric, and that clarifies expectations for multimodal compositions. Ball State's multimodal composition rubric, they say that focus will be demonstrated by each mode consistently contributing to the overall argument or thesis of the composition. Logical order is demonstrated through the variety of modes interacting and flowing with one another to support the argument or thesis. And just as we would tell students they should choose a stronger, more descriptive and effective word or phrase in a traditional essay, we would make sure that they have used the strongest, most effective text, images, and or sounds. Is it really that simple? Can we really take the way that we would evaluate a traditional essay and use that to evaluate a documentary? And in Box Logic, Jeffrey Sirk challenges that when he writes, "The refusal to allow text as open-ended, rushing to instead to impose on it the mild boredom of order is a concern I have with much computers and writing scholarship today." So that is a fair point. Although it might feel as though we can take traditional evaluation methods and use them for non-traditional texts, it's never going to be really that simple. So the reality is that if you are someone who is interested in submitting something to tutors, you need to be willing to work on your submission and to have a conversation with me about it. And hopefully together we will figure it out. We will be able to present something that is worthy of the mode or modes that you happen to be working in. The truth is that technology can be confusing and intimidating sometimes, but I think it is more helpful if we think of technology as an opportunity to explore new ways of communicating to each other about tutoring and other topics. So the point is definitely to construct something and to learn from mistakes. Something else that I have found is that the tutoring community is actually very helpful, and I've already had a few people reach out to me and help me figure out some difficult issues that I've had in constructing this journal. So I'm going to continue to use that resource. How are submissions reviewed? For now, it's just me reviewing submissions, and my name is Tom Halford. I'm the Assistant Director and Writing Specialist at the Claude J. Clark Learning Center at SUNY Plattsburgh. And I'm using a classroom to publication model without the classroom. Essentially what I'm doing is, in the same way that a teacher would work with a student on an essay that is due at the end of the year, I'm accepting submission and then I'm working with the student who has submitted it to get it to publication. A decision is made once the submission is received as to whether or not it will work with the journal. Commentary and encouragement is provided for another draft. This draft is resubmitted, and then minor corrections are made, and hopefully we reach a point where we can publish something together. Okay, so that is currently how I am doing the review process for submissions, but hopefully that'll change in the future. I'm hoping to move towards a peer-reviewed model. Once the first issue has been published, I want to hand over tutors to a few students at SUNY Plattsburgh and see what they want to do with the journal. However, if you're not a student or a teacher at SUNY Plattsburgh, but you are interested in helping in some way, I'd be more than happy to have you work with me on this journal, so please contact me. I would also like to provide a quick thank you to Kurt at James Madison University for his guidance on finding the best publication process for this journal. It's still ongoing. And I'd also like to thank Tom Friedrich, who works here at SUNY Plattsburgh. He sort of has provided me with some insight into gaps in this video during the drafting process, and he's also provided me with a little bit of encouragement as well, which has been very helpful. And the process is still ongoing in developing this journal, so if anybody else is interested in contacting me, please do so. Finally, of course, we have to end with a works cited. We have the low bridge to high benefits, entry-level multimedia literacies and motivation. That was the quotation at the beginning. We have the new work of assessment applying a traditional writing program rubric to assess multimodal compositions. And we also have Jeffrey Sirk's box logic. So that's your works cited. If you are interested in contacting tutors, you can email me at thalf001@plattsburgh.edu, and you can also phone me at 1-518-564-6138.